All right, so we're continuing on with the Star Wars Rebel theme PC. I cut a very crude hole in the top of the H1. If anyone knows how much the H1 costs, you know how cringy this is already. Please, like I said in the last video, don't judge what you see yet. Judge what you see at the end, then tell me how much it sucks. But no, we're gonna talk about a few things today. We're gonna talk about why I quit some builds. I've only ever not finished, I think 2, maybe 3 builds in the last 10 years I've been doing this channel. We're gonna talk about what goes into the design, like we did in the last video, and why I sometimes change my mind while also working on this. So you kind of get a twofer. Today's video is sponsored by me and these 3 graphics cards we're giving away. You can't see them because they're not actually here right now. Why? Because I want you to click the link down in the description below to see exactly what cards they are. Worldwide, for free, anywhere in the world where giveaways are not prohibited. So if you want to learn all about which cards we're giving away and how to enter and when it ends and all that sort of stuff, then you're gonna have to pause this video, click the link, and go and enter. Don't wait, you'll be sad if you did. You know, like Wayne Gretzky said, the only shot you miss is the one you take and you didn't 100% do. What I need to do right now is I need to cut the opening at the top of the fan, for the fan I should say, and we're gonna talk about a couple things. So I've got these holes and I punctured the holes there, that way you can see. Because remember the inner structure, the middle wall, had to mount to something. And it mounts to these holes right there. So I just sort of I was gonna cut 2 squares, and then I guess I could just cut across too for a bigger opening there. That's not gonna really matter. The power supply is going up against part of this. So only like half of this is actually gonna have airflow, but hey, I look at it this way. Half of airflow is better than no airflow at the top of a case that could potentially get hot. So I'm gonna go ahead and grind this opening out with my cutting wheel, and then we'll start. I might even do a coat of primer on here, just so I can see it all one color to kind of see the way because like this build right now, this is why I wanna talk about why I sometimes change my mind. So let's talk about the Red Dead Redemption build real quick. That build was an opportunity for me to show you some really neat woodworking techniques on how to burn the pine, how to make it look aged and old even though it's not, how I did the rusting techniques on the steel grate on there to make it look like an old crate. The problem is the game for me wasn't really that fun. So I had stopped playing the game and then I wasn't excited about that anymore. And then 2, I realized that build, it wasn't gonna get any use outside of the purpose of making videos. And that's not what I wanna do. I wanna build it, use it, and enjoy it. And anytime we do a build that sits assembled and we don't do anything with, I actually feel bad about that. So I didn't want that to be the case on this. I wanna build it for DreamHack, and then I want to potentially use it somewhere. I actually wouldn't mind adding a second computer in my game room at home. That way my daughter, when she wants to play games with me, can actually be in the same room instead of in a separate room where her computer is, just playing over the microphone. But having a small form factor build makes it easier to kind of place that around. I also really like the vertical builds. The big giant wooden crate thing, although cool, just I knew it wasn't gonna be used. And rather than waste the time on building it for the sake of the videos, I sort of scrapped that one. The engine block build, which is the most recent one I sort of quit, is because of the quality of the block itself. Like I showed you, this is a foam mock-up piece that fabricators use to stick whatever engine it is that you have the foam model of and make a mount for it, mock it up in some sort of a custom hot rod or something. And this is the exact dimensions of the engine block, but it doesn't need to be pretty. So you got this very porous, very ugly foam exterior. And no matter what I did to the outside, it was never going to look right. This foam is it's still a chemical. Foam is a chemical. And so the paint was having a hell of a time sticking to it, as you can see, but then parts of it are smooth, parts of it are very grainy and gritty. And although it does a fantastic job of serving a purpose of being a mock-up for an engine builder and a fabricator, it was a terrible mock-up for a computer. And I don't want to grab a real engine block, at least not a V8 block, because I don't want a 400-pound computer. I have not abandoned that concept. I've just abandoned that implementation of it. And I spent $500 on that foam block. So it cost me money to not do anything with it. And I'm sad about that, but who knows what weird purpose I might have in the future. But again, if it's not turning out the way I want it to, or it's not meeting that vision in my head, then I feel like I owe it to myself to not waste the time on it, or waste your guys' time necessarily on seeing me continue it when I just don't have any passion for it. I mean, that's fake. You guys, I think you guys know by now I'm not fake, and so I just could not do that. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right on to our second part by opening up this top piece. That way the air has somewhere to go, because otherwise I would have had that opening and there's a solid metal piece, and that would have done absolutely nothing. When I buy Dremel wheels, I use all of it, and those are the other ones I use. So I messed up a little bit. That's okay, because you can see this part right here. Well, that doesn't connect right there. See, I forgot that there was the I/O hole. So it's still something for it to tie into. It's not terrible, but I made a bigger opening than I had planned. All right, so it's time to put this back together a little bit and see if we get some of that structural rigidity back. So you can see the hole and my mistake right there. Oops, I should have had it come up and around so it's connected, but it's still pretty rigid. So anyway, you can see the power supply is definitely gonna block some of the air. The R2-D2 when he's pissed. So that's a fair amount of intake, or not intake, but exhaust up there. All the heat's gonna be kind of like gathering up there anyway. So yeah, of course, when you look at it from this perspective, you can see there's gaps all around it and it's ugly and stuff. But I do plan on doing, like I said, the styrene top for it. In fact, I'd even started cutting one that was already the right size, so I could start then making the corners like angular and stuff. And then the fan is gonna mount to that, right? And then I might come up with some sort of a, I don't know if I even can. I was wondering if I could make a neat shroud around this, like Phil was suggesting it. I'm wondering if I can heat the styrene. I have no idea what's gonna happen when you heat this stuff. I'm wondering if I can just bend this again. I'm just sort of guessing. Because, you know, precision guessing is what I do. Oh, look at that. It definitely starts to react. Hey, look, I got the double angles right there. So now, check this out. I did it! I precision bended good!
Wow. What? That's, what?
This is the model building side of me that really comes in. Surprise! All right, so this fan is thicker, but I'm wondering if it would look better by not having it go all the way to the edge, because that's, right? So that's got an angle. So now you can imagine if I make this shroud. Now it's starting to look spacey. Kevin Spacey. So this is the fan I'm gonna use, the RGB fan from Corsair. It's actually gonna look like that, but Phil is going to, cool, wait.
What?
Why is that? Is that like gaffer's tape under there? So we could do a black circle, and then we could do like a red Rebel logo right there in the middle. I'll show you guys how to cut the styrene. This is amazing stuff. If you've never watched any of Adam Savage's one day builds and stuff, he uses styrene like it's going out of style. Like it's going out of styrene. This is a scoring knife, like you would use on drywall. So I prefer to use it because the hook makes it easy to score. That's what scoring is. It's just putting a cut onto it. So let me measure the strip first. So now what you do with the styrene, take the thick side, take a straight edge of some sort. In this case, it's just my ruler. This is the thin stuff, so it might even cut all the way through. If it's the thicker stuff, you can score it a few times and then snap it, like we've showed with the acrylic. It's very similar with the polystyrene. So check this out. And I can even go back and forth with it. See it making little styrene hairs? There you go. So there's that strip. And I'm gonna need more than one strip because this isn't enough to reach all the way around. It's enough to do half, it appears. And this stuff also sands really well. So if it wasn't perfect, like if you have one part that's a little bit higher than the other, you could easily sand it and shave it down. So this one I need to go inside the line because of the thickness of the pencil. And I didn't score it very much because I want to show you it will still go on the line. See that? Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Now we have two nearly identical pieces. One's maybe 0.5 millimeter thicker than the other. That's fine. Once it's all together and we glue it, which I don't actually have any glue here, but we then would be able to sand it down nice and fine with a file. Now we gotta make our fan holes. Hey! So I was worried about the thickness of the screws on the bottom holding the fans in, or the fan, that maybe it wouldn't let this slide all the way down and make the tabs line up, but they line up just fine, as you can see. Look at that. Oh. So any air that gets trapped up top is definitely gonna make its way out, that's for sure. It's one of the most cutting I had to do on this build was to get the fan on the top. So I feel like I've at least accomplished something today, which is nice. I am not bleeding. So now, obviously like the shroud up here isn't on there yet. This is easy to cut, obviously, and that will allow me to make this all pretty. I now know that because we have as much thickness as we do, I do kind of want to rivet down maybe the piece. I don't really see any exposed rivets or anything on the Star Wars, like X-Wing and B-Wing and all that, but nothing says I can't do it. And then we still want to come up maybe with some sort of exterior. So instead of me trying to make the exterior piece out of styrene, Phil's gonna see if he can't utilize his 3D printer in some way. But I like the fact that we can have some exposed wires here. Like I got one of the licensed Legacy Darth Vader lightsabers. Even that has 2 or 3 exposed wires on the outside. I mean, nothing says space like wires everywhere, right? So even if I were to like clip it down there and then it has a route or something into the hole and then through the styrene, these holes won't be visible. Remember, you have to still imagine that's underneath it with some angled cuts or rounded cuts on the corner to make them look like paneling. See, NZXT, it wasn't that hard to put a fan on top. Why didn't you guys do it? I am excited about the amount of heat that's actually able to exhaust out of there. And I'm still somewhat thinking about maybe doing, instead of the big old giant 3080 Ti with the 3 power pins on this, potentially going with the Founders Edition card or something. We'll figure that out as we go. This is a self-etching primer, so I want to get this on there and let it start fighting. So I know this is probably going to be disappointing to some of you, but I think I'm ditching the custom loop and going back to the AIO. The problem with externally mounting everything is it takes away all of my canvas to be able to do something custom. So in true like kit basher form, we're grabbing panels from all sorts of cases and stuff that we're not really using anymore to come up with some ideas. So this is self-etching primer that's on here right now. I've got to sand it down and do another coat. You do a couple of coats of this and everything will really stick. That's why I love showing people this, because this paint people think is like powder coating. Cannot scratch it. This is paint. So you would never do this kind of thing with paint. Like I can't even scratch off those letters. So that's because of how good the adhesion is for the paint. And this is the same process I'm doing on this one. But by having everything on the outside, radiator and the reservoir, I'm losing my surface area to be able to mod to make it a Star Wars theme. So what we've done is we've taken some of the great material off of Phil's old Fantex shift case and just started tearing it down to see what we can do for like greeble material. Now here's the thing, if I go with the AIO, this is the side where that fan is going to be. I've already cut this hole, unfortunately, but that's fine because I'm going to cut off these tabs and these little nubs. I've got these screw holes here that I can use to screw into this, and then we're going to end up putting this on the outside on the bottom down here to sort of cover that up, and then I'll do something up here. So you can see now this will be a flush mounted grill, which is already going to start looking very spaceshipy. Like just by seeing this all one color, here let's put that side so you can see the 3 sides. By putting this all one color, and yes I know it's kind of an olive green, it's the color of the primer that I use, the self-etching primer, but I had to see it all kind of blend in. So if I put this here, or if I put it up high, then I can just have something down there. It'd be neat if I even put a little Raspberry Pi screen behind there, but then we made it so that whatever shows through and starts doing something only lines up with that hole. So the rest of the screen would be black, and then whatever image or video we put in there is sized to fit that hole. So that's an option too, because we got all kinds of room back here for a screen. So now you have, like these are on opposite sides. See, now I'm starting to be able to see this. Now I can see this working out how I want it to. So I was also thinking, what if we were to cut this guy? Then that gives me a surface area to put up pew 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 damage on it. And this is when I really wish I had a CNC or at least a bandsaw for metal, because I just need to chop it on the top. Or like Phil was saying, have like maybe an angled like an angled cut. Now I know you guys are probably disappointed about the AIO, me too, but this allows me to actually be a little bit more involved with the mod now and do cooler things. So now I gotta cut these nubs off. Yeah. All right, so the side grates are on there. One's a little higher than the other, I can fix that later. But now, allow me to put it back on the chassis, and then I will allow you guys to click on another video, as if I were stopping you, I guess, but you know, whatever, it's besides the point. It's starting to look kind of cool. I need to do some, so I feel like I want to leave this attached now when I do the spray painting and stuff. That way it's all the same color, and then if I wanted, I could actually mask it off and then paint it custom with my airbrush and stuff to look like a vent of some sort. But it's coming along nicely. You guys are sort of starting to get the idea. I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun getting to the weathering part, because I want to find somewhere where I can get a blaster hole in there. I feel like that's gonna be a requirement. I've gotta be able to have a place for there to be some battle damage. Because almost all the X-Wings had some charring and stuff from lasers that have grazed it and whatnot. It's gonna look a whole lot like the Corsair 1, technically, if you gotta compare the outside. Purely coincidental, but still. All right, that's where we're gonna end it for today. Just a lot of this crap, going round and round and changing your mind, and then eventually a computer comes out. Like I said in the last video, I could probably actually really use you guys' suggestions on this one. I need to chop this, and I don't have a CNC mill or anything to, or even any sort of mill to cut it like perfectly straight. I would ask if anyone has one and wants to cut it for me, but I ain't about to go through all that. Just cut it, so I'll figure out something. All right, guys, thanks for watching. 31 days of Jaytober is just about over, but don't forget, November is the month of Jay's Giving, where I've got some of the biggest giveaways I have ever done, ever in the history of this channel, and you guys are not gonna wanna miss it. So please give me your suggestions for this build if you got any, and subscribe if you're not, and we hope to see you guys in the next one.